Hi, I'm Sergeant speaking with Earthwalker Primitive. I want to go over today, a while ago on Facebook, I put out a questionnaire asking people what they would recommend for a child safety kit. We're not talking about a full packed kit. What we're talking about is if your kids are planning on going out for a hike or whatnot into the woods or going for a long walk, some items that could be great to carry with them in a small pack just for preparedness and in case they do run into trouble and they do need to fend for themselves out there in the woods, whether they're lost or if it's nightfall, storm moves in. Some things that would be great for them to have on hand. I put a questionnaire up, and basically what I did was I went off of a lot of the majority of the answers, and also a couple things that I also want to throw in there myself. But we developed a pretty neat little kit. It'd be easy for you to put together for any kid of any age that just wants to go out and hang out with his friends. So that way, you know, and you have the peace of mind that your child, as they go out in the woods, is going to be able to take care of himself if an emergency situation does evolve. First and foremost, you know, we got a pack, and everything we got here is going to fit in this nice. This is an old Army surplus butt pack. You can use a pack like this, or even something smaller, a camera case or whatnot, to fit it all in. Something that they could throw in their backpack, or at least have on a strap around them. Like I said, I'm not trying to make some big, huge pack. It definitely is not a bushcrafting or camping pack. It's just an emergency kit to have on. So I got this small little butt pack here, and of course the first thing we're going to put in there is a good quality knife, a good decent sharp knife. That one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're getting a knife for your kid is make sure it's something that they can comfortably use. Just don't throw any old knife in there. It's something that works great for you. It might not be easy for that kid to handle. You want to make sure your child can handle that knife and also knows how to handle it properly, so they're not going to endanger themselves. But definitely something that they could use and have a reliable tool out there in the woods with them. Next thing obviously would be water, a water supply with them, preferably in a metal container that they can use to boil more water if they do need to get more water. If they use all the water in it, they can go ahead and purify water for themselves in an emergency situation. So definitely a stainless steel container for them to keep water and purify water out in the woods. Next thing that you want to consider is a fire starting kit. But now we're talking about children. We're not talking about, you know, us adults or people who practice this every day that go out and use all kinds of fine-tuned different kinds of techniques and skills to start a fire. You want to make sure that your kid does have a guaranteed flame, whether it's matches or lighters. And then I just threw in this kit fire ribbon, which is very easy to use, minimum flame. You can even use a fire steel with this to light a fire. So something that you know is going to guarantee that if your kid needs to start a fire, they can go ahead and start a fire, whether it's just a fire steel and some cotton balls in a tin or a fire ribbon like this. I do have a fire steel in here and a lighter, so you have two means of ignition, and then you also have a guaranteed flame producing item if they have to start a fire. So definitely a good addition to a kit for a child, bearing in mind what they're able and capable of doing. Another thing I have is signaling devices. I got over here some chem lights. One thing you want to keep in mind when you buy chem lights, these are just cheap Coleman ones. They don't have any time, but if you go to a good supplier of chem lights, they'll usually have the time lifespan of those chem lights. You definitely want to make sure you get ones that are 12 hours or 24-hour burning chem lights. It's no use. Your kid's going to be better off if they're out there in the woods with a chem light's going to last 12 hours as opposed to only 3 hours or a half an hour. If it's just starting to get dark, you want something that's going to last through the whole entire night, not go dead in 3 hours into the night. So chem lights for signaling, and also I have a survival whistle. Great thing to have. That child has to signal for help or alert people to their position. They have an audible and a visual means of signaling for help. Another thing I have in there is a flashlight. Definitely something, especially for children. Just the stressors and the psychological position that they're going to be in if they are in an emergency situation. It's definitely going to play effect into their mental awareness and their ability to cope with their surroundings. Most of us as adults, especially if we spend a lot of time in the woods, it's no problem for us going out in the woods in the dark or in minimal light and walking around. But for a small child, that can be a definitely traumatic experience. So a good flashlight with long-lasting batteries and good power is definitely going to be great for that child to have in their survival kit. in an emergency kit. Another thing I have in there is an emergency blanket. There's many different styles. This one here is one that's also not just an emergency blanket, but can also be used as a sleeping bag, which is a pouch with a drawstring that can crawl in. Definitely want an emergency blanket. If you want to take up more space, you can use a tarp or a poncho, but to try to keep this pack light, emergency blanket would be great. Now, of course, with the kit, depending on the terrain and the climate, it's going to change. Obviously there's no cold weather items in here. I'm just trying to get a basic standard items for a survival kit, emergency kit for a child. But obviously, according to your climate and your weather, that would also dictate what you place in that kit. Another great thing for a children's emergency kit would be some snacks and food. Got here just some items from an MRE that I put in there. Great for a kid, not only for nourishment if they're hungry. We're not talking about someone going out into the woods for days and days that might be lost for days and days. We're talking about a child that might wander away from home and get lost, and hopefully only a day, 24 hours or so, they may be lost. So food like this is another mental stimulus for a child. They're not going to be out there with the skills and the know-how to procure to sell some food, so they have some snacks for some energy, and but also the snacks too are a motivational factor for the child. It gives them something to eat and something to think about, as opposed to just being lost. Now, there's one other item that I don't have in this kit, but it would be an information card. And on that information card, what you want to have is contact information. Obviously, if there's an area where cell phones work, you want that child to have a cell phone if they do. Even if the cell phone doesn't work, or if they don't have a cell phone, you still would want an information card. And on that information card will be you as the parent or the guardian's information, your cell phone number, your house address, and your name, and also an alternative, another family member, maybe a grandparent or an uncle who lives close by, their contact information. You'll also want to have that child's name and your address on that as well. The reason for that is, like I said, us as adults, we can take a lot more under our skin, but a child, if they get lost 24 hours in the dark, it's going to be a lot more of a psychological trauma. They might not be able to recall that information. They might be in shock. And if anything's even worse, they could possibly be physically injured or unable to give out that information if somebody were to find them or if they were to run into somebody. So it would be great to have an information card in your kit, so that way if they are rescued or someone does find them, that they can go ahead and look in their kit and get a hold of the parents or guardians or somebody in the family to come and rescue that child. Now, two things that I want to include in this kit that you can't put in this kit. The first one, obviously, is a contingency plan. At no time should a child just be allowed to wander off without a contingency plan out in the woods or into the wild. If your kids come to you and they say, hey, we're going to go out hiking for a day, cool, fine and dandy. Pack their kit, send them on their way. But before you send them on their way, make sure they have a contingency plan. And in that contingency plan, it's going to describe to your child and to you, so you're both on the same sheet of music, what's going to happen. If they do get lost, what are they going to do? If a storm comes in, what are they going to do? If they don't come home, what are you going to do? And it can be simple stuff. If there's terrain features, a big water tower, or something like that off in the distance, it could be as simple as saying, hey, if you're lost, go find that water tower. If you see it, go to that water tower, or go to the top of that hill, that mountain that everybody can see from a distance away. And then you're going to sit there and wait. And then when that child doesn't come home, you've already stated, if you don't come home by this certain time, I'm going to go to that terrain feature. I'm going to go to that water tower. I'm going to go to that hilltop and see if you're there. So a child should have a contingency plan. You should both be on the same sheet of music, and hopefully the mental state the psychological state of your child will be able to help them go ahead and execute that contingency plan. The last and final thing that you can't put in the kit that's included is skills. There's some items in this thing, like the knife and the fire starting equipment. Just don't pack things in your kid's kit and expect them to know how to use it. Don't expect your kid to do things out in the woods if you have not sit down and actually showed and taught your child those skills. Teach your child your skills. Make sure they're able to perform all the tasks that they need to and use all the equipment that they have, and it's going to set your child up for better success in an emergency situation. So keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something from it. Keep these ideas in mind when your kids do want to go out in the woods, and helps set them up for success, and make sure they're better prepared for the woods. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you took something from it. I'm Sergeant speaking with Earthwalker Primitives. Thank you.